What am I mirroring and not even aware, as a woman that she's picking up on? What is my husband mirroring that my son is picking up on? How do we make sure that we make these aligned? Because he will miss a couple of questions or something. And he's like, yes, as long as he did his best and as long as like a 90 something, he's like, yes. Whereas my daughter, if she misses anything, it's like, oh my God, I gotta do it all over. What? No, this was great. You did a great job. What are you talking about? This is great. Celebrate this. And so I have to watch myself, like, what am I saying to myself that she's witnessing that I may not even be aware of, that I may not be conscious of in the moment? So it's been a lesson. It's been a lesson.
You're listening to I Have Given My Answer with Liz Gillum of E616 Consulting. If you're ready to take part in the conversations that give Black women the comfort, the community, and the confidence to live our lives freely, recognize our true worth, and embrace softness, and I know you are, then you are in the right place. I am your host, and you can join me each week as we talk honestly and authentically, freely and in our own words. There is no one here to disappoint, no one here to judge, just Black women supporting other Black women. If you are ready for that community, then step into the right place. Hey everybody, welcome back to this week's episode of I Have Given My Answer. I'm so glad you're here. I am really thrilled to introduce to some and reintroduce to many Talitha Anyabwéle, who is not just one of the greatest educators I have ever known, but a really dear friend of mine, whose support brought me through a really hard time. And we'll talk about that in the episode, but I cannot wait for you all to meet her. She is the CEO of Black Girl Speaks and the director of Rise Anyabwéle Academy. And she'll get into both of those in the episode. So just stay tuned. You're in for a treat.
Hi, Talitha.
Hello, Liz.
How are you? I miss you.
I miss you too. I miss you so much. I miss your whole family, the whole
Yeah.
tribe.
I've read your bio to the people before here, but why don't they? I want them to hear it from you. Tell our listeners who you are, because I adore you and I know that, but I want them to know who you are.
If I had to summarize without going through all the things, I am a rattler. Okay. Went to school at the highest of Seven Hills, Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. So proud of that. I'm so proud of that because it was the first Black institution I attended post pre-K, really. And where all of the teachers, students, everyone reflected me not only in appearance, but value, culture, just love. And so that became my just the start of my transition to Black womanhood. And I adore FAMU. So that is like a big part of who I am. It's also where I met my husband. One of the biggest decisions of my life. I'm really big on decisions these days and and I'll talk about that later, but I went to school. This is totally tangential and not at all what you asked me, but it's coming.
Yeah.
I went to school for a degree and to find my partner, my life partner. And I didn't know who that would be, but I went there with that focus. And I know a lot of people, especially with Black women, we are told not to do that. You focus on the grades, you focus on the degrees, that'll come. But I knew I wanted a life partner very early. I knew I wanted to be married very early. And we didn't find each other while we were in school. We didn't find each other until after I was graduating. But I went with that mission. So I'm a rattler. I am an entrepreneur. I started the Black Girl Speaks movement, which is a movement to support Black girls and women, both virtually and in person. And it started as a one-woman show where I shared monologues about the Black woman experience. I am also the founder of Rise Anyabwéle Academy, which is a virtual homeschool co-op and also supplementary education for parents who are in traditional school setting virtually at this point. And I'm a homeschooling mom, so and author. I have to remember to add that children's book author, working on the next book to drop this year. So I'm excited about that. But I wrote two books called "I Remember Mommy," which is in dedication to um, two students of mine who lost their mother in childbirth, in the childbirth of the second, and it talks about the Black mortality rate, Black maternal mortality rate, and also. A book in dedication to Kobe Bryant and his daughter, called Like Father, Like Daughter. So I'm very big on helping children process their emotions, and grief is one of the emotions that children also feel. We kind of overlook that sometimes, and so these two books help deal with grief in a way that is very understandable for a young age group.
Love that. We have the Like Father, Like Daughter. Um,
Thank you.
and Rise is how you and I met.
Yes.
We were looking for resources to homeschool our son, and
Mhm.
we had done it, but sometimes kids learn better from people that aren't their parents.
This is true.
And sometimes teachers like myself teach better to students who aren't.
This is also true. This is true.
So I
Yes.
knew something was missing. And then a mutual friend of ours told me about Rise, and we went to the graduation ceremony.
Yes.
We took Adam, and all three of us were like, so where do we sign up?
Yes, yes, yes. And we absolutely love your family. Oh my gosh.
Formational experience for all three of us. For all three of us. And not only was it transformational for Adam and his growth, but my growth as well, because I was in the middle. I was dealing with a job that was sucking me dry, is not an understatement. And I was
Mhm.
not appreciated. And I had made the decision to leave just before he started school. Um,
Mhm.
I remember asking for help because my father was moving and I was about to have surgery. Like there were a lot
There
of
were a
things.
lot of moving parts. I remember that
A
summer.
lot of
It was
that.
a
And my
lot.
sister was like, yeah, no, it's not supposed to be easy. And I was like, wow.
Mm. Well, this is
And
about to get really hard for you then. So,
I was like, well, I put it. That's fine,
mhm.
And I remember our same mutual friend took a screenshot of the post asking for an assistant. She's like, I
Yes.
this is for Talitha. You need to do it. And
Yes.
people don't know me. They are not gonna pick me. I'm just someone out here who's a parent. They are not gonna pick me. And I will never forget that call when you called. And I was like, so when do you want me to start? And you were like, right now.
Right now. Let's go. Let's go. I'm a very energy led person. So, I mean, even in the first conversation we had when we were talking about your son joining the community, it was an instant synergy with both you and your husband. Like that was just, okay, these people are my people,
Yeah.
instantly. And when our mutual friend recommended you, I was like, oh, okay. And it's one of the reasons why, I still hold her in high regard because she brought me you. Like
Mhm.
it was like, oh yes, and it was not a lot of people. I think I've said this to you before that even let in to kind of help me. We have the Black girl syndrome, I can do it all. And I was really trying to put that banner down. I do not want to do it all. And I was still so thankful for your willingness and competency. So those two things don't always go together.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. You
Yes.
may have some willingness, but you have to do a whole lot of training to get them up to a level of competence, or you have the competence and they're not willing to put forth the effort. So I was so thankful of everything you did to
You were also
support
so
and help.
patient. There were so many times where I'd be like, I forgot to do this again. And you were just so gracious and so
Because it's
patient.
life. Because it's life. We out here trying to live in the midst of a pandemic. Like life is lifing.
Life was life and hard. Oh my.
So hey, it happens, and and the world doesn't burn down when these little things slip. I had
Yeah.
to really give myself grace in this time too. Like it's okay. The world kept spinning. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in you doing that, I learned a lot about myself and my capabilities and what I could do and what I would take. I
Mhm.
don't work for anybody
Mhm.
anymore. Like I'm only working for friends.
Mhm.
I'm only working with friends. because, and even while I was working with you, I took on another job and quit after 2 months because I was like, this isn't the vibe. Like,
Yep.
I'm not taking away time from a job that I love to be bothered again. I'm not doing
Yeah.
you again. I'm gonna go. You it's if you can do it better. And I'm gonna come back over here where the people
Yeah.
love and I love them. Like,
Yeah. I
so
love it. So if that helped elevate your expectations of your employment, I love that because you deserve the absolute best. So yes, I love that.
yeah, that absolutely did.
Mhm.
And and that kind of goes right into talking about that desire for perfection and
Mm.
Black girl syndrome and everything that we know and that both you and I helped each other through while
Mhm.
like we both had grace for the other
Yeah.
in abundance. It was really incredible to work with you, but just that desire to be perfect, even if it's our first time trying something.
Right. Right.
Like,
Right.
right, why am I doing it at all? And
Right.
we're afraid that if we mess up, we have instantly become a burden to someone.
It's an automatic. And I don't know, I'm in therapy now trying to figure out when it started, but it's absolutely I'm that way in motherhood. I'm that way in my marriage. I'm in that way in anything I try to do. And my husband has tried to teach me, he'll say this all the time, it's better done than perfect. And I'm like, lies. But it is true. But it's like, oh gosh, it's so hard to get to a point where that's okay.
Yeah.
Especially with high achievers like both of us. We know what our level of excellence is, and we don't want to settle for anything less than that. But learning requires that you mess up, that you make mistakes, that you give grace,
I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't want to say it, but it's the truth. I have to tell my students this, and I'm like, oh, I'm talking to me too. Oh, ouch, I'm talking to me too.
And the way that you had so much grace for the students helped me not only have grace, I've always had grace for my son, but you also helped me elevate that in that regard because coming from a family of teachers where school is the end all be all, I knew I didn't want that for him. I wanted him to find what made him happy, and if that school is, if it's not, it's not. But there were still those vestiges of that.
Yes, they're there,
And
lingering.
you
Yeah.
being gracious to him and giving him space to feel and seeing how you, and not just you, but seeing how you encouraged the other boys because they had an all boy tribe,
They did. It was wonderful.
but encouraging them to stop and save space for their brother
Mm-hmm.
who is hurting.
Mm-hmm.
Just watching that and seeing that helped me to help him remember even now what's important. The grades aren't that important. How do you feel? Are you doing your best? I need you to know that. I don't care about the grades. They'll come and they'll go. But how are you feeling in this moment? And
Exactly.
complete shift from what we know and what we grew up with.
Oh,
And,
absolutely.
oh my gosh. And that desire for perfection.
Yeah.
Because that perfection often was the only way we could get close to being valued, at least
Right.
for me.
Yeah. 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 And yes, in general. And I am learning that humanity is the antithesis of perfection. So if I'm acknowledging my humanity, if I'm acknowledging the humanity of others, and I'm no longer looking for perfection because that's just not in humanity. It's just not.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that I'm loving this human being, so I am loving their imperfections. And I have to give grace. And that means I have to afford it to myself,
Yes.
And that's yeah, it's a hard thing to unlearn, all of the other parts. And I don't know, I can't say my parents ever said be perfect, but somewhere I learned that this was the expectation. Somewhere I learned that this was what was praised, this is what was rewarded. And I just intrinsically learned that this is what I must do. And, it's unlearning that and the best teachers are your children. Oh my gosh. Oh gosh.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, mine keep me in class. So they are constantly asserting their need for grace and for understanding. And I'm seeing a lot in my daughter. You know what's funny? My son affords himself more grace than my daughter. And so that's a lesson for me. Like, okay, what am I mirroring and not even aware, as a woman that she's picking up on? What is my husband mirroring that my son is picking up on? How do we make sure that we make these aligned? Because he will miss a couple of questions or something. And he's like, yes, as long as he did his best, and as long as like a 90 something, he's like, yes. Whereas my daughter, if she misses anything, it's like, oh my God, I gotta do it all over. What? No, this was great. You did a great job. What are you talking about? This is
Yeah.
great.
Yep.
Celebrate this. And so I have to watch myself, like, what am I saying to myself
Hmm.
that she's witnessing that I may not even be aware of, that I may not be conscious of in the moment? So it's been a lesson. It's been a lesson.
I have enjoyed parenting in this season and with this community of parents that I
Mm-hmm.
have found, especially with Rise and seeing free Black children,
Mm-hmm.
brilliant Black children.
Yes.
I mean, I am not saying that just because we are in Rise. I mean, even when we took
Yes.
graduation, we were like, what is actually happening
Yes.
now? Like, where are
Yes.
children coming from? But being able to teach our children not just grace, but also that they can chart their own path.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
can have kids or you don't have to. You can get
Mm-hmm.
married or you don't have to. You can go to
Mm-hmm.
college or you don't have to. Like
Mm-hmm.
giving them that space to determine what their life looks like
Right.
outside of these lists of
Mm-hmm.
here's what boys should do and here's what girls should do and
Mm-hmm.
here's what this is and here being
Mm-hmm.
able to parent and then be able to save space for them to exist authentically, seeing how your daughter is just, she is what I was as a young girl, but it was tampered down. It was
Oh
in
yeah.
me. And just seeing how wonderful and amazing and learning from her. I learned so
Mm-hmm.
much from her, learning from
Yes.
her, you know,
Yes.
and so I'm wondering what your experience in raising free Black children is with children who don't have to follow these predetermined lists.
It's a conflict at times, but there's so much joy in the conflict, if that makes sense, because I have to wrestle with my instinct, which says shut this down
Yes.
because it was shut down. And I have to challenge that, often I'm a little better at now, just have practice. And then just being able to watch them. Because like you said, with my daughter, I mean, she is the amplified version of what I would have been in terms of how she freely expresses herself. And my son too, like it just would not have happened. I just, no. But they are so honest and we have understood now what respect is. And it doesn't always mean the elder is always right.
Right.
It doesn't always mean that you are silenced, and that respect has to be mutual, because that was not the case growing up. Respect went one way. You
Yeah.
respected your elders, and that was it.
Yeah.
And so now this expectation of no, this respect street is mutual. This elder, and we have defined elders differently from adults. So adult is just someone who is 18 or older, someone who's older than you, but an elder is someone that shows mutual respect, that cares about you, that loves you, that we trust. And so everybody doesn't get the title of elder, and so they know they don't have to afford the same sort of respect, reverence, however you look at it, to adults just because.
Right.
It's glorious. It's glorious. And Adam taught me, every teacher has a student every year that's like, we are going to push you to be your best self each time. And Adam would show up honest, his authentic self. He would let me know when he wasn't feeling his best, when he's not like, I just need a moment. Like, yes, sir, take a moment. Like, yes, we need moments at times, or I don't have that. He would be frustrated sometimes and we would have to walk through. It's okay. It's okay. You know, you can take a moment, you can go get it, or we can push through and work with what we have. And either way, it's going to be fine. And it just gave me so much more patience with myself at times where I would be flustered, like, oh my goodness, because in tech, as you know, things don't always work out right. You know, the clip may not show or something would happen. And it would just give me more patience with myself. Like, this is out of my control. I can only be my best in this moment with what I have. And that's all I have. And that's
Right.
enough. And that's good enough, you know. So I'm so thankful for the opportunity I had to teach your son. I'm so thankful. I mean, he's just a joy in his way. And he reminds, you know, he and Amiri are kindred spirits in that they're not performing for anybody. They're going to be their whole selves, you know, we're not easily excited. And that's okay. But when we are, we're on 10. But when we're not, we're not. And that's that, you know. So I love that. I love that.
He is his own person.
Mhm.
And I am glad both for him and for me that we have a home where we don't treat children as our minions,
Yes.
but as small but whole people.
Whole people.
You are a whole person. You are small, and therefore you are my responsibility. But I ask him all the time, "What's my job?" And he's like, "To keep me safe and teach me." And I'm like, "That's my job, and
That's it.
gotta let me do my job." But
Mhm.
you know, my aunt was flabbergasted that he has locks at 10.
Wait, what? Why?
It's
That's his
apparent.
hair.
Uh, that's what I was also shocked that I cut my locks off. I was like, again, it's
It's
just
my hair.
I can grow back. We can cut it when he's done. You know, and she was really flabbergasted because locks have been seen in my family as a very permanent decision. Like when you
Okay.
have to cut your hair off. I mean, okay, but he's only 10.
Yes. He's
So
only
good job.
10. Hair grows. It just does this thing. It just grows. It
Yeah,
just keeps growing.
and just my family is often flabbergasted by how we talk to Adam. She was like, "You
Mhm.
talk to everyone like they're an adult," and I'm like, "No, I talk to everyone like they're a person."
Like they're a person.
Yeah,
Like they're
like
a whole person.
person. And
Yeah.
I talk to adults the same way I talk to children, which is the same way I talk to adults.
Mm-hmm.
How it's always been, and
Mm-hmm.
I've always talked to Adam like that. But just the children are supposed to stay in their place, and
Right.
what you're doing is different. So I'm gonna make my snide comments about it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
not believe what you're doing and that this is working.
Right. Right. And that's their own insecurity. That has nothing to do with me. I said
Yeah.
that's your issue. That's not my issue. You know.
Yeah.
So we're raising whole human beings over here. You know, I tell my kids all the time, it's like you will need therapy because it's a tool that we need to navigate through life. But my goal is to make sure that I'm not one of the irreparable reasons you need it. Like it
Like,
won't be you trying to recover from me in some way. I'm going to mess up. So you will talk about me and that's fine. But I'm trying to make sure that it's not irreparable damage, that I just make sure you're whole, you're well, you're happy, you're, doing your best. I'm giving you all the tools I can, even tools I didn't have. I'm trying to find tools
all the
I
tools,
didn't have and make sure you have them. So yeah, yeah.
all the tools, all of the tools.
And still not strive for perfection. Somewhere in there.
It snuck in there.
Uh-huh. Still
Um,
not strive for perfection.
One of the things that I've also said to a lot of people about how and especially how I talk to Adam, is if he is comfortable coming to me with the little big things,
Mm-hmm.
when we get to the big things,
Exactly.
he's still gonna know that that door is open.
Exactly.
Some pretty big stuff. Um,
Yeah.
for 10, I'm like,
They're experiencing things. They're
"Sure."
experiencing things. And they are exposed to far more than we were. I mean, technology has advanced exponentially in our lifetimes. So what they're exposed to, what they have access to in the world, and they have lived a childhood during a pandemic. We have no experience in that. So they are experiencing emotions and thoughts that we just would not have because we didn't have access to these types of things.
Right.
So yes, I mean, both of my kids tell me more than I really want to know, honestly. More than I want to know. Okay. I could do without some of the things, but I keep the door open because I do want them to know there's nothing that can shock me so much. There's nothing they can't tell me. There's no bridge we can't cross. We can do this.
Yeah.
We can talk about all these things. And I shock them sometimes. I bring up all the things. All the things. It's so fun. There's this show, if you haven't seen it, called The Parent Test, I believe.
You know
Have you
what?
seen it?
We were watching something and it was about to come on, and I was like, I don't have the energy for this right now.
It requires energy.
Yeah,
So make
I
sure
just
you
didn't
have
want
some energy. Make sure you have some energy. But we've been watching it with the kids and they give us our report cards.
it.
We get assessed. So we get our feedback on our parenting styles. But it's very interesting to see like, oh wow, okay, I do a little bit of this, I do a little bit of that. So it's been a really good point of reflection for us as a family to see. So it's when you have the energy, because it does require that. It's cool to check out with Adam. It'll be interesting.
So,
Yeah.
but just raising boys in this space
Mhm.
is such a joy.
It
It's
is.
a joy.
It is.
And
It
cuddly
is.
boys, because he will
Yes.
lean on me. I don't get any space. I don't get any time.
No, mine is a little snuggle bunny all the time. I mean, if he could go back in the womb, he would. If that's
Yeah.
where he could sleep, he would go back in there and go to sleep every night. Like, yes.
And so I
Yes.
really love that because I was a snuggly child, but I had no one to snuggle. And so
Mm.
I love, and I will snuggle him sometimes, or
Mm.
sometimes he sees me particularly stressed, he will put the palm of his hand on my forehead.
Oh, my
He's so great.
goodness.
He's so wonderful. He'll just put it back there. Or, Mom, how's your podcast going? And I'm like, I am in hour 7 of editing, my friend. I am very tired. And he's like, number one fan. And I'm like, thank you,
Oh my gosh.
but I am very tired.
I love him. I love him. No, they know. It's funny. I say all the time that girls remind you that you can conquer the world because they push you, they challenge you. So my daughter, she does that. My daughter challenges me. She's the one that if I come out, she's like, we're going with that today. You know, I think we can do better. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's try this again. You know, like what? I thought challenging me, right? And that's with anything. And then, but sons remind you that you are the whole world. Like you are their whole world, you know? So, and it is, yeah, it's amazing. They're both amazing feelings.
He is really that. That is him. He is, I am it. Mom is it for him.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, because we've talked a lot about freedom for children,
Mm-hmm.
but you and I are very, very much on the same page in terms of women and what it means to be a woman and in the fullness of womanhood, not necessarily femininity, but of womanhood. And
Womanhood.
Being exactly who you are in all of the spaces.
Yep.
That is something that I pride myself on, but also something, those are spaces that I am very intent on creating for all of the women, non-binary, and femmes in my life. Just here is a space for you to be exactly who you are and show up. How do you, and I know you got Black Girl Speaks and the world listens, and you got just these magnificent spaces that I enjoy being a part of. How does that show up for you? You know, not only being your whole self, but creating that community for other Black women.
I did it selfishly, honestly, because I needed the space. I needed a safe space to fully explore what it meant to me to be a woman and shed all of the other stereotypes and identities that were placed on me that weren't mine. And a lot of it had to do with phenotype, and hair was a big thing. It always has been a big thing. I mean, I just chopped all mine off Sunday too. Like, okay, no, I'm over it. But 2005 is when I was teaching at Sakara, you know, the Denards, Tallahassee. I was teaching at Sakara, and amazing transformative period of my life. But my students challenged me to, I was teaching them how to write spoken word and use it as a tool. And they were like, well, you haven't done it. I said, okay, bet. I can show you better than I can tell you. And I wrote this whole show. And it was like all of these different Black women came through me, through the pen. Different stories just came out different. And I could identify with all of them. They were all different forms of Black woman, and did the show, I thought, for one time, and it started a whole thing. So that became workshops, that became tours, that became all of these things. And through this time, it has allowed me to heal from these other identities that weren't mine, these other stifling limitations of what a woman could not do. I was taught very early, a lady is, and it was defined these things, always clean. There are times, well, no, I just don't feel like I'm out here in the ground. I'm in the dirt right now. I'm literally in the trenches getting dirty. I am, and I'm still a woman, and I'm still not defined by these limits on what that is. I love that in recent times, it's still very dangerous in some areas, unfortunately, but more of our transgender sisters are now able to be more vocal, more seen, more visible, without being shut down, seen as women, seen as beautiful, seen as dynamic. And, it's empowering for all of us. If any one group that has been marginalized is now empowered, all of us are empowered by that. So it's been a very wonderful and healing opportunity to create spaces for Black girls and women, safe spaces, because it's for me. It's for me. I benefit from it. Right. So yeah, we need them all. We need more. We need all of them. Yes.
Giving women space, that was always easiest for me because that was a need that was being served for women and the women that I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And now with this space, I am expanding that to creating a space for us to outlive generational lies.
Yes.
And to remember our value and our worth outside of productivity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So many spaces exist, and they're like, here is how to have it all and work and stay at home, or here's how to have it all and make all this money. And yeah, there's a place. I'm not saying that there isn't, but we need spaces where it's like, yeah, here's how to be yourself, and to stop, just quiet everything down for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Here is a space for you to come in and realize that grandma meant well, but we don't have to do that anymore. We don't have to live that way anymore.
Right. That was her tool for survival. It no longer is necessary for us. We don't.
And I was talking with a very dear friend of mine today, and I mentioned to her outlive generational lies, and she's like, "What does that mean?" And I said, "The things that we've been told, the things that have been put on us." And she's like, "I've only ever heard generational curses." And she's like, "But you've turned it on its head because we're not cursed. We've been lied to."
Yes. Yes.
And she was like, "I don't," and this friend is always like this, but she always says to me, "I don't know how you do this, but you keep doing it." She's like, "Something else. Like, what have you done?" And I'm like, "I want us to be free.
Yeah.
Serve the same freedom that we fight for everybody else.
Yes.
And I want that for us. We stay fighting, and and we're tired.
And tired. I was about to say, we stay tired. Listen, I'm Fannie Lou Hamer up here. I'm tired of being tired. I'm sick and tired of being tired.
Always tired.
Yes. No, I want the reprieve. I want a life of ease. And I don't want to be shamed for that. I want the freedom. I want the reprieve. I want, yep. I want the lack of fear. I don't want to live my life in a state of fear or exhaustion. I don't want any of that. I don't have to have that.
It was my honor. It was, and I don't know if I ever told you this, but it was a high privilege for me to be able to support you last school year, to support you, not just as your assistant, but to just support, to be someone that you trusted and could lean on.
Yeah.
And so that when you did get sick or you did need a day off, that I could be there to say, all right, go rest, sis. I've got it. And you
That
could
was
know
amazing.
that was there. It was an honor to have been chosen to serve you in that way. And I absolutely would have done it for free.
Mhm.
We can only, if we don't delegate, if we don't work in community, we can only be as good as we are ourselves.
Exactly.
And so it's just a really beautiful thing that you, again, and I can say this 100 times, I know the audience is sick of it, but it's a beautiful thing that you taught me as my supervisor, as my friend, as my son's teacher, all of these things. And I count it such a joy and a privilege that you're not my supervisor anymore and you're not my son's teacher, but we are still very good friends.
Yes. This is life.
Yeah.
Once you
You
have
are
that
stuck with
connection
us.
like that, yeah, you stuck with us. That's community, right? It evolves, but it shouldn't end. It shouldn't end. So yeah, that's what I've always wanted.
So, okay, so we have talked about our businesses and working together and raising children and raising ourselves and finding that space. So in all of that, I am ready to ask you for your ice cube moment for our listeners. Again, if you are new, this is something that you can chew on, like I like to do, or something you can just sit with. It's just a little glass, a little, ice cube for your lemonade to sit with. So, Molly Talitha.
What I am learning is how my small incremental daily decisions lead to this lifetime of consequences, good or bad. And so I'm taking better care of my daily decisions, my incremental decisions, my daily decision to take a 1 hour for myself. I'm looking ahead and seeing how that can impact my life as an elder, what peace that will give me, what that practice will do for me, my daily decision to exercise now, which is something totally new. I've only done it for the past 30 days, that particular decision. I'm already seeing a difference in how I just approach everything, this calm. So my daily incremental decisions leading to a lifetime of consequences, that's something I really am chewing on and learning right now and would love to help people understand more about, because we do things kind of habitually, we're not thinking about it. And even that is a decision, not being conscious of what you're doing, just acting. And so being more conscious of those daily incremental decisions and how they'll lead to these lifetime consequences is something that's very important for me to reflect on in this space right now.
Y'all, I really hope that you enjoyed that episode. It was a lot of a love fest of us just saying how much we miss each other, but it was a lot of good stuff in there. And I want to invite you to come on to our free webinar on Saturday, April 29th, called Boundaries On and Shields Up. We're teaching you how to say no, how to set limits, and how to work your boundaries. So come on out. You can go to our website, e616consulting.com/webinar. It is free. Just register, and we cannot wait to see you there. Thanks, guys. See you next week. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of I Have Given My Answer. This week's episode was produced by Oz Longworth Jr. of Longworth Media Solutions. We hope that you have been reminded that you are enough. Be sure to come back next week where we'll have another conversation to remind you just how wonderful you are. We here at E616 Consulting keep Black women grounded in love through community, comfort, and confidence. And we can't do that without you. We can't wait to hear how this episode touched you because we know it moved our souls. Sis, you are enough and we love you for it.